greetings and welcome back to the Bond Geek channel with me, your host, the name Stevens, Henry Stevens. Everybody, how'd you do? Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying a good Bond film, a good Bond book, a good Bond video game, a good James Bond, whatever makes you part of this glorious fandom, everybody, that is the James Bond community. And everybody, welcome to the channel. And today, everybody, we're going to be discussing another one of my what if things, and to be honest, quite a very recent what if story, everybody. As many of you maybe know, before Cary Joy Fukunaga came on to direct No Time to Die, we were going to have Bond 25 directed by none other than Danny Boyle. Just think about that for a moment, everybody. We could have lived in a world where Danny Boyle directed a James Bond film. You know, and ever since, you know, he eventually left the project, and we will get into that, everybody, I think a lot of us Bond fans have been looking like, what could it have been like? Would it have been better? Maybe it could have been worse. What would a Danny Boyle film looks like? So I titled this video today, I think it'd be really cool to examine Danny Boyle and any information that we've ever uncovered or heard about when it comes to his Bond film, and just analyze it and get an idea about what sort of Bond film could we have gotten, and then at the end just look into sort of thinking, would this have been a great Bond film or not, and why there might actually still be hope that he might direct a Bond film again in the future, everybody. But anyhow, before we get into that, everybody, I just want to start talking about my own personal thoughts here on Danny Boyle as a director. Now, as a director, I think Danny Boyle is absolutely incredible. What I really love about Danny Boyle is how he was one of the real sort of early pioneers of using digital cinematography and really embraced the medium and started to use it in such great ways. And then, you know, he's really driven it forward and done some amazing work over the years. I think Danny Boyle is one of the best current UK directors that we've got going at the moment. Now, he doesn't really normally do sort of big budget stuff like Bond, and this would have been very different for him. And if I'm absolutely perfectly honest, when it comes to Danny Boyle, his films for me, and again, I'm being fully transparent here, are a bit hit and miss. You know, I love 28 Days Later, I love Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours is okay, everybody. Sunshine didn't really work for me. I loved Yesterday. Trainspotting 1 and 2, I think, are absolutely fantastic. But actually, my favourite film of Danny Boyle, and it's probably not one you all consider to be like one of his best. Heck, I don't know if how many of you actually even know about this film. And it's not The Beach, or that. It's actually a film he did with James McAvoy and Rosario Dawson called Trance, which was basically sort of an art heist gone wrong with a bit of amnesia kicked in. And seeing this film made me think, dear God, I would love to see a Danny Boyle James Bond directed movie. I really, really would, everybody. But then again, that's just my personal thoughts when it comes to Danny Boyle as a director. As to say, I think he's an amazing director, but his films are hit and miss for me. But when it was announced that he was going to be the director of Bond 25, and he had come on with his screenwriting friend John Logan, and they were going to write new stories together, ditch what they've been planning previously, honestly, my reaction was ecstatic, everybody. I was super excited at this possibility. Just the concept of something great like Danny Boyle doing a James Bond film is brilliant, and he's got his Trainspotting screenwriter on there as well. I just thought this sounded absolutely fantastic. And then obviously we heard the news down the line, which led to one of the many delays when it came to Bond 25, eventually No Time to Die, that Danny Boyle had left the project due to creative differences, which is a polite way of saying we disagree on a lot of things, it's better to depart now. Now, normally when I hear creative differences, the word cover over rings very, very strongly in my head, everybody. But based on the evidence that I have found and I've seen, I actually think this really honestly could be a clear case of, you know what, at this junction in time, at this moment, we just have creative differences, everybody. You know, we're in a different place. I want to make this film, you want to make that film. It's better that we just part ways now. Heck, you never know, maybe in the future, everybody. And there was a bit of a talk at this time about how Danny Boyle felt going through this experience made him realise, I don't want to do big budget stuff. I want to do my small little budget stuff. That's where I feel comfortable with. But again, we'll get back to that in a minute, everybody. But the big question we are now talking is, what would have the Danny Boyle film been like? And to be honest, we've heard a mixture of different things from Danny Boyle. We've heard things from John Logan, the screenwriter of this project. And we've also heard things from, you know, Cary Joy Fukunaga who put. But basically, the things I've been heard, and the 3 words I've heard that they have been described as for Danny Boyle's script was light-hearted, crazy and extraordinary, and very risky. Essentially, what I really heard he really wanted to do was a Cold War thriller in the modern day. Danny Boyle is a massive fan of the Ian Fleming James Bond books. He really does love the books, and he really loves rereading the books, which is, again, it's a really exciting thing and a really cool thing to hear the director loves the book so much. And what he really wanted to do was take an Ian Fleming story, or sort of that vibe, and really just plonk it in the modern day. A real sort of Ian Fleming thriller James Bond film in the modern day, everybody. That's what I hear him do. But this is where I get a bit confused, everybody, because, again, I hear some people say it was going to be very light-hearted, which contradicts, I think, what some other people have said was it's actually going to be a very, very serious sort of From Russia with Love-esque sort of story, everybody. You know, people are going to call it crazy and extraordinary, as I say on the screen up there. I imagine that's going to be a bit bombastic and over the top, and also very risky. And I'm not going to lie to you, everybody, based on what we saw in No Time to Die, how much more riskier could it have been than No Time to Die? I mean, really, everybody. But I really want to come back to that thing, how it's been described. Danny Boyle wanted to make a Cold War thriller in the modern day, a real sort of From Russia with Love story here. And what are my just thoughts, just right now, on all the things I've said? Honestly, everybody, it gets me excited. I think this film would have been completely wrong for Daniel Craig's last James Bond film. I'm being absolutely honest with you. But I can't deny it would have been interesting. It would have been something, I think, new and fresh. And it really would have been the Danny Boyle James Bond film. But what is the reason? Well, the reason that we've heard in part that Danny Boyle did leave the script. Well, apparently it was over casting of the villain. Now, from what I hear, Danny Boyle wanted this Polish actor, and I'm going to read his name on the screen in front of me right now, Tomasz Not, to play a Russian villain. But Craig basically has veto over the casting choices for the film, said no. Moreover, apparently, the risk that Boyle apparently wanted to take was to base the movie around the current fraught political relations with Russia. Basically described as a modern war Cold era story. Now, let's just back this up here. First off, let's go to Tomasz Not. He's an actor I have heard of in the past. I've seen him do little things in the past. Obviously, you know, a few notoriety things. I've never honestly known his name, but if you show me that picture of the actor, which again I have on screen now, everybody, I do know who they're talking about. He would have been a great villain, in my opinion. He would have been a great villain. He's not like as big as, say, Rami Malek or Javier Bardem or Christoph Waltz has been in the past. But I get the impression that Boyle was trying to go away from the big star-studded cast and just go into something a bit smaller. And I don't think that's the direction they wanted to go. And again, I come back to this, everybody. Creative differences. Okay? But I do think doing a sort of having Russia as the bad guy in the modern day climate, honestly, everybody, I think would have been a bad idea. But Henry, you love Ian Fleming, you love James Bond, they are Cold War thrillers, that would make sense. Yes, I agree with you on that. However, everybody, the fact that is doing something like that could actually have, as it was described, fraught political relations going on at the moment. And, you know, that sort of thing could potentially upset and rock the boat a lot when it comes to box office and other sort of reasons attached to it as well, everybody. But, you know, we're not a political show. We're not going to go into it any more than that, everybody. And I think, honestly, I'll just leave it on this for the note when it comes to this. I think the Bond series has evolved over time and changed. As the Cold War finished, Bond adapted and changed and went in, you know, it didn't go in a new direction per se. But in the Ian Fleming stories, it was, you know, outside of Smirch, it was always like Spectre. It was like certain individuals who were either worked with Russia in the past on their own organisations, doing their own separate things. And I think the Bond series, certainly from my era forward, which is Brosnan and Craig, really, they've really gone to that very hardcore, it's individuals who want to destroy the world or change the world in their own way and don't care what they do about it. And having Bond go up again, effectively against, if you will, a nation, you know, based on the past, it's probably not would have been, I think, the best idea. But that being said, everybody, a modern war era sort of Cold War-esque story, I think would have been a great thing to do in the Bond era. I think, you know, you might just have to tone down the political side of it, which again is the reason why I think creative differences were honestly a reason, everybody. But honestly, I would have really enjoyed to see it. I would have liked to have seen it. And even though Danny Boyle did say that he didn't want to get into big box office, you know, big blockbuster movies, he has recently come out and said, you know, the door's always open for us to return to the story and come back at a later time. And from what I hear, actually, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson really did like working with Danny Boyle and John Logan. It really worked. So maybe in the new era of Bond, Bond 26 and going forward with a new actor, maybe we will, in some way or fashion, get this Danny Boyle story just with a new Bond actor in a new era of James Bond. We never know, everybody. But I want to know, everybody, what are your thoughts on this Danny Boyle directing a Bond film? Were you excited about it when it happened? Were you not excited? What do you think of all the things we've heard about when it comes to the story? There's so much really to go into. I want to know your thoughts, everybody. So comment down below and tell me what you think about this James Bond story and the idea of Danny Boyle directing a James Bond film in the future. I really want to know, everybody. Let's start the conversation going. As always, everybody, my name's Henry Stevens and this is the Bond Geek. Goodbye.